Hello, everyone. This is Roger Campbell again, and today I will be talking about a health issue that I believe needs to be talked about more and spread knowledge about what it is and who it affects. And the topic today that I'm gonna be talking about are food deserts and what they are and why they are such a problem historically and even now in 2021. This issue is one that I became aware of in my first year of college, living in Evanston, Illinois, and at Northwestern. I saw the good and bad in Evanston and places like Winnetka, and also like places the west side of Chicago. You see the food deserts and how they impact communities and children. And when it comes to the development of our youth, when you're young, you develop habits, whether they are good or bad for you, but they stay with you into your adult years. So I decided to take some time and explain what these food deserts are and talk about key locations that we have in the United States and how we can help alleviate this problem. A brief outline of what I'll be presenting on today. The first thing I'll start with is why. Why are food deserts important? Not important that they are a good thing, but why is it important that people are educated about the matter and who it's affecting, which is our youth and people of minority communities. Then I'll go into what is a food desert because I feel like a lot of people may not know what it is. So on the off chance that they don't, I'll be explaining what the food desert is. Then I'll go into my firsthand experience that I had in Chicago, experiencing both food deserts and the opposite of food deserts, which is an enrichment of resources, an abundance of resources, I should say, that you don't have to worry about if you have a market where fresh fruit and vegetables are available. Then I'll also go into a little bit of my life and my diet and the importance of fresh fruit and vegetables, especially being a Division I football player and how that has afforded me opportunities to pursue even like a master's degree because of my athletic abilities that is fueled by my diet. After that, I'll go into the Chicago landscape and some of the statistics surrounding Chicago as it regards to food deserts in New York and Los Angeles as well, which are the three largest cities in America, but they also have the three largest populations where food deserts do coexist. Then I'll go into the impact that food deserts have on children and the future of the United States. I'll share some of my final thoughts and then give you guys a list of the references that I used to research this topic and presentation. Why is learning about food deserts important? It's important because a lot of people don't know what they are. And if they do know what they are, I think this is important because going to offer ways that we can be more aware of it and try to alleviate the problem as it stands. And just knowing the statistics around surrounding large cities such as Chicago, New York, and LA will hopefully bring more empathy to people who do live in food deserts and realize that there are things that are out of their control as far as transportation and vicinity living to fresh food markets and things like that. And also, I think it's important to speak on this topic because the impact that it has on children. And we all know that the children are the future. And if you don't have, the nourishment available at a young age, it can build your habits in good ways or bad ways. And you carry that with your adult years. So the importance of a healthy lifestyle starting from the time you're born would do wonders for your health when you're an adult. And if you don't have access to that because of the food desert, I think it's important to speak about and educate others on into how we can help fix this problem. Now we're getting into what actually is a desert. And according to Mary Daniels, a food desert is a region where the people who live there have limited access to healthy and affordable foods such as fresh fruits and vegetables. Many factors contribute to the presence of food deserts today, such as traveling distance necessary to find healthy options, having a low income, or lack of transportation. And the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA, defines a food desert as an area that has either a poverty rate greater than or equal to 30% or a median family income not exceeding 80% of the median family income in urban areas or 80% of the statewide median family income in non-urban areas. So differentiating from urban areas and rural areas can be challenging at times due to organizations and researchers have many different definitions as to what these two classifications are. And the Census Bureau uses the land use concept that identifies urban areas based on how densely settled the area is, whereas the USDA rural development programs use the administrative concept that uses jurisdictional boundaries such as city and county lines. And although these vague and variable definitions can lead to unnecessary confusion, it does highlight the reality that rural and urban classifications are multi-dimensional concepts. Also, the recent closure of a grocery store in Macon, Georgia is just one example of how food deserts are continuing to develop in today's world. And according to an Atlanta Journal-Constitution investigation, nearly 2 million Georgia residents, including about 500,000 children, currently live in a food desert. Almost 19% of the state's population lives in areas that lack access to affordable fruits, vegetables, whole grains, dairy products, and other foods that make up the full range of a healthy diet. Therefore, food deserts may be having a tremendous impact on the health and the quality of life of the people living within them. And with people living in food deserts having limited access to grocery stores or other outlets to purchase healthy and cost-effective foods, their ability to maintain the currently recommended dietary guidelines may also be negatively affected. Therefore, the lack of access to healthy food and difficulty maintaining a well-balanced, healthy diet may contribute to poor nutrition and negative health outcomes such as high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and obesity. Another reason why I'm so passionate about learning about these things and presenting this information that I find is because I have firsthand experience in seeing these food deserts and want to provide a different perspective other than just showing you the straight facts of the situation, but I think providing a personal analysis of the things that I've saw or have seen will be more impactful in showing you how food deserts impact people. So in Northwestern is in Evanston, Illinois, which is a pretty, I would say affluent neighborhood. There isn't a food desert there. So I realize how an abundance of resources can lead someone to not think about whether they have the access to fresh fruits and vegetables because it's always around them. And, we're surrounded by neighborhoods such as Winnetka, which is also a very affluent neighborhood who has access to fresh food markets and, things like Whole Foods are a dime a dozen. They're very often to see when you go to Winnetka and Evanston areas. But on the other hand, when I would, take the train down to the west side of Chicago, for different, school projects and, just to kind of explore the fullness of Chicago and not just the north side of Chicago, I would see a completely different story. There's a large urban population, specifically, minority and Black communities who did not have the same access to these Whole Foods and different fresh food markets that I saw on the north side part of Chicago in places like Winnetka. And this saddened me because it's not that far away. It's literally a train ride, and you can see the stark differences between where food deserts exist and where they don't, and the difference in, poverty levels and, socioeconomic statuses, where people are more affected by not having access to, you know, the different foods that people on the north side do. And another thing that also made me want to do more research on this topic is because of the children that I've seen, come through programs such as that we had, the Youth Impact Program. And this was a program where we had in the summer, it was a football camp, and, children would get bused, to Northwestern, from these low income communities on the west side of Chicago, on the south side of Chicago, just all over, urban areas who had, poorer education than the ones that we were used to in Evanston and in the Winnetka areas. So they would come and we would have lunch, and we will always have, fresh fruits and fresh veggies and things for them to eat. And the children would always comment and say that, oh, what vegetable is this? What fruit is this? I never had this. We don't have this, in my neighborhood. And it would sadden me because I would think that they were joking, like, oh, you don't know what a kiwi is, or you don't know what a pineapple is, you never had one before. And, the common answer was no. They had to settle for what was more affordable, which is often, poorer nutritional and value. And that's the reality that we're living in today. And this wasn't too long ago, I would say 2018. And I wanted to do everything that I could to help these children know, okay, these are items of food that will help you in your cognitive abilities, your athletic abilities, and your ability to memorize things in the classroom, and all these different benefits that they were missing out on because of their lack of access, to these fresh food markets, because of, they live in food deserts and they don't have, the resources and transportation to get there. And the government and the powers that be want to keep it that way. They don't want, fresh food markets in urban areas for reasons that I couldn't fathom. But yes, this firsthand experience that I've seen in Chicago definitely motivates me to, continue to speak out on this and provide solutions so that, our children, no matter if they come from, lower socioeconomic status or, the richest people on the planet, I feel like, children should have access to fresh food and vegetables at their leisure. Another aspect I think I can speak on in regards to food deserts are why fresh fruits and vegetables are important to me and my diet, and where it has landed me. My diet consists of a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, not only because I'm a football player, but because that is what I like to eat and have access to. Yes, I'm fortunate to not have lived in a food desert, so I don't know what it's like to not have access to these things, but I do know that the benefit of fresh fruits and vegetables has afforded me, different opportunities such as getting full ride scholarships to top universities such as Northwestern and, Southern Illinois, and letting me have access to, educational purposes as well, because I wouldn't be in the position that I am now if I didn't have the wherewithal to eat right and healthy so I can perform at the best of my abilities. So coaches would, be able to take a chance on me to say, like, you know what, I want this guy, to come play for my school, and we're going to pay for everything, his education, his meals, things like that. So that is a small reason why, fresh fruits and vegetables are, important. And, living in a food desert, sometimes, you don't get afforded that opportunity to. And, your education is something that, no one can take away from you. So if you have a chance to, get a full ride scholarship, and that resides on, part of your athletic ability, your diet is going to be of, the utmost importance, because you don't want to put anything in your body, because you want to perform at the highest level so you can perform the highest level in the classroom as well. So it definitely has afforded me opportunities, such as Northwestern, such as Southern Illinois University, to, be in a position to, make an impact on the world. So I definitely credit my diet, with some of my success, on and off the field. So that's why having access to these resources are vitally important, especially with the development of children, growing up today. In Chicago, the statistics, I feel, do not tell the whole tale, because you can only experience the impact by being there and seeing it firsthand. But some of the more striking statistics that I found were that more than 500,000 residents, who are mostly African American, live in food deserts in Chicago. And of those 500,000 residents, 400,000 live in neighborhoods where with the preponderance of fast food restaurants and no grocery stores nearby. Now I'll repeat that. These are people who live close to fast food restaurants but no grocery stores. So living in a food desert gains you more access to more unhealthy options. And according to a study from a map, an article, not an article, but a journal, Geolytics Premium states, listed all the way back in 2009, whites comprised 77.8% of the population in Cook County in Chicago that had high access to grocery stores and fresh food markets. And blacks were only 3.5% of this high access group. So we can see through the demographic information from these statistics that white people are more inclined to live in areas where they have high access to grocery stores and fresh food supermarkets within Chicago. You can start to see a similar trend when we move to a place like New York, one of the largest city in America, where there's an estimated 750,000 New York City residents who live in food deserts, and about 3 million people live in places where stores that sell fresh produce are few and far away. And this is striking because the disappearance of urban grocery stores has had the most serious impact on low-income communities, especially those that are predominantly African American. So we see these food deserts, these large cities, prominently affecting minority populations, specifically African Americans. We see in New York, such as East and Central Harlem, and North and Central Brooklyn. And this was according to the study by Dames he did in 2020. So this is very recent information that we have here. And finally, we get to the city of Los Angeles, where in 2008 the Los Angeles City Council voted to enact a moratorium on new fast food outlets in the 32 square mile zone encompassing some of South LA's most arid food deserts, an area about 97% of the population is either Latino, African American, or of mixed race. So we see also in Los Angeles that 97% of the population who experience a lack of access in food, or who live in food deserts, are minority populations. So to try to combat this problem, the council said having fewer fast food restaurants created greater demand for more and better food choices. So the council members subsequently passed another measure offering grocery stores and sit-down restaurants serving healthier meals and financial assistance to open up in underserved communities. So the problem is beginning to be recognized, but still a problem that affects mostly minority populations, specifically, African American and Latino and mixed race. And this is the current problem that we have, in the world today. Now, with the most important aspect of this information, that I'm presenting on today are, yes, minority populations are adversely affected by these food deserts. But what I'm most concerned about are the children. And the future of America should be the agenda that is always getting the most attention. Our children are the future, and a lot of them are adversely affected by the food deserts we have in our society. Having fresh fruits and vegetables can positively affect the child's life, and self-esteem will be another, you know, thing that we should have to focus on. And there are things that we take for granted when we are in positions of privilege and do not have to worry about our access to fresh foods. Not having to worry about access to healthy nutrition is another factor at play when we talk about food deserts, and highlighting the deficiencies in our youth when there is a lack of access to fresh food will illustrate the need to take action on this matter. And in my final thoughts on this, it boils down to who really cares. Does the government care? Do we care? And I think the answer to this question is more important than ever as we continue to see the health disparities increase in our youth and in our world. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in. These are the list of the references that I chose to use for the presentation today. You can go check them out. I think the Daniels article was really great from the Georgia Rural Health Innovation Center, and also the Geolytics, where I got a lot of the statistics from for the food deserts in Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. Thanks again. This is Roger Campbell. You guys have a nice day.